My name is Tiana Wang, and I'm the daughter of a Chinese political prisoner. I wish to use my family's experience to draw this council's attention.
That's Tiana Wang speaking last week before the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva about her father, Dr. Wang Bingzhang, who is imprisoned in China. He was a co-founder of the overseas Chinese pro-democracy movement, and in 2002, he was kidnapped by Chinese government agents while at a meeting in Vietnam. He was charged with espionage and terrorism, and after a one-day secret trial, he was sentenced to life in prison. Tiana joins us now from Montreal. So good to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So you were invited to the UN to speak about human rights abuses in China. You started speaking about your father's case, how this has affected your family, and what happened, Tiana?
Well, I was invited by UN Watch, and a Geneva-based NGO, and they gave me their spot to speak at the Human Rights Council. And each NGO gets only 2 minutes to make a statement, and about, I guess, a few seconds into my statement, maybe 40 seconds in, I was stopped by, the Chinese delegation made a point of order and asked the president of the council to stop me from continuing or finishing my statement.
And at that point, you were supported by several nations, the U.S. and Britain, who insisted that you continue. Canada didn't raise its voice. Were you surprised by that?
I was surprised, but I was told afterwards that I think at the time the Canadian representative had stepped out of the room, and there was nobody. I think there was. From what I understand, it might have been just an intern that was at the table, and so, and I don't think they're supposed to make these point of orders. So I think it's, from my understanding, that was why Canada didn't participate.
And then on top of all of that, there's a Chinese delegate whose credentials have now been stripped that was taking pictures of your computer, and you got a picture of that person doing that. Tell us about that.
So the day after I spoke, the Human Rights Council was waiting for the session where China would formally adopt the UPR to start. It was at 5 p.m., but there was a delay because the Chinese delegation wanted to postpone the UPR, which they eventually did. It was postponed to the next day. But as we were waiting, As we were waiting, there was a man behind me, sitting right behind me at the last row of the council, and he was photographing me. And actually, I didn't notice it at first. It was the UN Secretariat staff that noticed it and asked him to stop. And I turned around a little bit later, a few minutes later, just to make sure that he had. But he had a tablet that he hid inside his suit, and the camera portion of it was sticking out, and he was continuing to take photos of me. He was sitting right behind me, so it was really obvious. I looked at him, and I was so shocked. Looking back, I wish I sort of made a scene or something, but I was so shocked that I went back to the staff that spoke to him, that reprimanded him previously, and then they had security intervene and then to check the photos, and they were photos of me and my computer at very close range.
So, Tiana, let me ask you this: are you worried about your safety?
Oh, no, not really. I mean, I live in Montreal. I suppose if the government wanted to access my computer, or do some sort of, the Chinese government wanted to hack into my computer, they would find a way to do so no matter where it was. And I'm not really concerned about my own personal safety. I live here, and I feel okay. I feel fine. I was very upset because, I think that it was, the man that was taking the picture is a representative of a so-called NGO, but the NGO that it's called the China Association of, I think, Preservation and Development of Tibetan Culture, and it's basically a fake NGO. They come and they come. Many members of that NGO are government officials, and they basically come to support China's policies. And they're not a credible NGO, and it's just really frustrating to see people like organizations like that able to participate in the UN process.
Tiana, I've got to let you go, but before I do so, when's the last time you saw your dad? He's been in jail for 12 years.
Yeah, I saw him last 5 years ago. It was in November 2008, and since then I haven't been able to get a visa to go back to China.
But you've been vocal. You've been vocal about his case and how this has affected your family and speaking out on his behalf. We thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.